Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Angels and Destiny show. Why is this show called this, you may ask? So I'll tell you. The accept meaning of angel is messenger, and the accept meaning of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guests and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And of course, I like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful guest, Jen Gilchrist. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching the show live at a later date, as it means a lot to both of us to connect with like-minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Ray, and I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy. And I'm a spiritual guide and healer, passionate about helping you reconnect with your divine presence and step into your purpose. Through angelic Reiki, angel oracle cards, guided meditations, and exploring past and future lives, I support you in healing your past and creating a soul aligned future. Now, my journey has taught me that with the right tools and guidance, we can all connect to our higher selves, embrace transformation, and live a life full of abundance and fulfillment. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey. I mean, a guided meditation and angel oracle card reading with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Jen Gilchrist, about how you, as a highly sensitive and empathic person, can embrace your gifts, trust your intuition, and create a more aligned and fulfilling life. Now, Jen is a speaker, spiritual teacher, and retreat leader. As an entrepreneur for 22 years and a spiritual mentor for 12 years, Jen has gone from struggling single mum to growing a multi six-figure business, making money doing what she loves and empowering others to do the same. Now, she works with highly sensitive and spiritual entrepreneurs on a deep level, helping them to reclaim their confidence, trust, and tools needed to harness their intuition, align with their purpose, and step into their next level of leadership in their business and life so that they make a bigger impact in the world while experiencing new levels of freedom of time, energy, and money in their purpose driven businesses and life. Now, Jen considers being a mother to a beautiful and talented daughter her greatest joy and accomplishment. And her favorite personal pleasure is to swim with the wild dolphin pods in Kona, Hawaii. Now, Jen has been on close to 40 plus different um, dolphin swims. I mean, that's a lot with hundreds of dolphins, and says it is both a playful and spiritual experience, and that she has learned and transformed herself through these experiences exponentially. Now, with testimonials such as, I recently had an aura reading with Jen. As a psychic intuitive healer and Akashic reader myself, I loved this session with her. Jennifer was fast paced, covered a tremendous amount of ground, was absolutely accurate about all that she shared with me. One particular message that she shared with me was particularly precise and powerfully communicated through her choice of words. And when I first met Jen in the retreat, I was surprised by her positive, vibrant energy. Then I followed her to a 4-day mini series program, and I realized that she is very gifted and authentic teacher, sharing valuable information on our soul's purpose and highest path. As an empath, highly sensitive, intuitive person, I soon felt that Soul Success Unleashed course could definitely help me transform my weaknesses into powerful skills. And that's what happened next. Although I dealt with many obstacles, the tools acquired from the program allowed me to overcome them, stepping onto my original life path. Thank you, Jen, for all your support. I'm so grateful and proud of being a student of yours. And I've personally followed Jen for a long while now, and all the things that she puts out are absolutely amazing, and you learn an awful lot from her. So, without further delay, hello, Jen, and welcome to the Angels and Destiny show. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me here and such a warm, wonderful welcome. I'm so thrilled to be here with your amazing community. You're doing such amazing work in the world.
Ah, bless you. Thank you. So, before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments, and thoughts, as both Jen and I want to be part of this conversation. So, please don't be shy. And Amanda is here already. Thank you. Cheers and blessings to divine energies and understanding, Ray and Jen. So, Jen, why don't you tell us more about your journey and how we can harness our sensitivity and our intuition?
Absolutely. I feel blessed. I like to say that my life is a spiritual retreat. I feel very blessed for my life right now. And what I mean by that is massage, meditation, creativity, Zumba, spiritual retreats, they're all a part of my everyday life, what I consider to be my everyday work day. For about 6 years in a row, as you mentioned, I went to Hawaii to celebrate my birthday on a spiritual retreat where I got to swim with hundreds of dolphins eye to eye. And I do believe that it's this balance of divinity and action that has really sustained my life and built my success in a way that feels good to me. It definitely was not always this aligned and peaceful, though. By the age of 30, I was on the hamster wheel of society's version of success. You know, I was wearing all the hats. I was a single mom by the age of 20. I bought a home by the age of 30 on my own. I built a 6-figure business doing hair and makeup. So on the outside, everything looked, she's got it going on, you know. But then I was feeling like I was wearing all the hats, going to networking, going to soccer games, trying to manage a house, do my, you know, handle my clients, and all of this was just like always on go mode. And so I felt really exhausted and really overwhelmed at the time. And I really didn't have any tools. I didn't know about meditation. I didn't know how to relieve stress. It's just like this was life I had to keep up. And so basically, wine and chocolate tended to be my go to stress relief. I get off of work. I'm
Yeah.
like, how do I wind down? Well, gosh, it's been probably since 2008 at this point, a long time, 12 years or so. My life literally did come to a crashing halt. I had gone to a friend's birthday party. We were celebrating her birthday, had a couple glasses of wine. And next thing you know, I'm heading home and I ended up rolling my car, flipping it twice, landing in a ditch. And like, fortunately, nobody else was involved. I definitely felt like the wings of my angels. Didn't have those words quite yet, but I felt that protection because every single window was broken out of my car. I had to crawl out of a window. And again, I was fortunate to walk away with just a few scratches and nobody else being involved, but it was a big wake up call. I realized that I couldn't be this frazzled in my head all the time. I couldn't be using alcohol as my only form of stress relief, but I was so afraid. I was ashamed. I was afraid. I felt lonely. I didn't know how to do life differently. I'm like, I can't do it this way, but how do I do it differently? And so at the time, I prayed. I'm like, I just want to be happy and at peace. I didn't know what else to do. I just prayed. I just want to be happy and at peace. And in response to that prayer, my grandfather came to me in a dream, except for it was it was one of the first times I ever had this experience where I'm like, wow, my grandfather came to me in this dream and he woke up something within me. He reassured me that I wasn't alone, that he was there, the angels are there, God, the universe, like you have all this unlimited spiritual support. And I remember waking up from that dream feeling like a sense of peace and hope washed over me that I'd never experienced before. You know, I didn't have all the answers, but I knew that it was going to be okay. And this is where, you know, I think the next 6 months, I pretty much just like my old life, when you have an awakening like that, right? I think everyone's got their own, whether it's health or relationship, all kinds of different things can lead us here. But it's like my old life didn't fit, but I didn't yet have anywhere new to go. Like I didn't have anyone to talk to about these experiences. And so I delved into probably reading every self-help book on the shelf. And before you know it, pretty quickly, within a few months, like my intuition bursted open. I could start hearing my grandparents talking to me. My angels were talking to me. And I was just on this journey. And I ended up having my first psychic reading. And at the time, I didn't know if I believed in them or not. Had not given it much thought. Was raised in a very conservative Christian upbringing. So I didn't really give it much thought yet to what is this real. But my friend had gone and said, wow, she gave me more insights about myself than I could about my own self. Like it was really amazing. So I went to her and she said that I would be doing what she was doing within 5 years. And I'm like, what? I mean, that sounds amazing. Something about that excited me. But I'm like, I just started hearing my grandparents and talking to angels, you know. I can't imagine. But she said, you know, you need to start learning some meditation. Go get around some other people that understand the journey you're on. And so that's what I did. And, fast forward a little bit, she was right. Within 4 years, I had my first iteration of my spiritual business called Divine Spark Within. But it never really took off. And that was for a couple of couple reasons. One, I could not imagine how I was going to now come out to the world as this newly awakened spiritual healer, psychic, angel card reading, past life reading person. Like what? Like I was so nervous. Like what would my hair clients think? What would my parents think? What would my professional community think? Like I just couldn't imagine. So I kind of compartmentalized it into two different worlds. And the other thing was I was super shy, painfully shy, to the point that I could convince my high school teachers to let me do all of my oral reports before or after school, or I know almost all of them. One of them, I had to do it and I just froze like a deer in headlights, and that's, I'm not doing it anymore. And I didn't even join a networking group for a couple of years that I knew would grow my business, because I'd have to share like on a microphone for 1 minute my name and business, and I just
Yeah.
couldn't do it. So, this didn't really grow because I realized that these fears were keeping me hidden and stuck and small. And so I finally got to a point where I'm like, okay, angels, I'm trying, I'm ready. I want this next step. And so I came upon this conference, right? God has a funny sense of humor. And the next thing you know, I'm at this conference for client attraction. I'm like, yes, it's exactly what I need. I need to have more clients. I am doing my work, but it's just very small, And so I get there, and the next thing you know, they're talking about speaking to grow your business, and I'm like, what? And this is when I know. You can let me know if you've ever argued with your angels, but I started
Oh,
arguing with my
yeah.
angels, this is when I know I'm fighting for my fears, right? Because I'm like, what? This is so far in the future. Like, this is, and they're like, well, I mean, and so I caught myself in that moment arguing with them. And so I took myself outside and I did what I call my TLC body meditation. Talk to your body, listen to your body, and commit to whatever your body's telling you, right? Because your body knows more than the mind,
Yeah.
when you're in fear at least. And so I went out there and I got really present with this. And I realized that if I, they like basically, you can hold off, but you'll just be prolonging your dreams. I realized that if I did that, I would just be holding myself further out of alignment from what it is I was moving towards and wanting, right? I had this vision of speaking on stages and writing books and all these things, but it felt so far in the distance. And so here it was in my lap. And so I decided to basically take a leap of faith, and I followed my heart. I didn't listen to my fear, and I took a leap of faith, and I invested, which was very scary, $22,000 into a program to
Wow.
learn my biggest fear. And that's, I think, where I could have used the excuse, hey, I didn't have the money in my bank account for my mortgage. I didn't have, but I had done enough work that I realized that we are always supported. And I knew that wasn't a valid excuse for me. And so I got through the fears and I showed up, and now I get to be here with amazing people like you, sharing my message, supporting others, and really awakening their gifts, their purpose, and aligning with a life that feels good to them, because we truly are all conscious creators, right? We get to have the life we dream of.
Yeah, exactly. And you wouldn't, when you listen to you talk, and you would never ever think that you were that shy um person. But I think a lot of spiritual people are actually like that, because we are empaths, because we do pick up on the energy, and we're so frightened of putting ourselves out there, because if those people don't like us, then that's going to really sort of like, oh my God, I'm going to hide away now.
Absolutely. I didn't know about being highly sensitive or empathic at the time. And I do think that was a big part of my fear of speaking. It's like I would get this attention on me, especially in high school. There's a lot of judgment going on, and
Mm.
the popular crowds or whatever, this or that. And so it's like the insecurities just it would hit me. And then I'd feel all this attention. I'd leave my body, and then I'd just freeze and I couldn't remember anything. And so then I felt more deadpan, and I just would panic. I literally just couldn't do it. And I do think it had a lot to do with that high sensitivity of just getting overwhelmed with being aware of the energy that's being projected, or even just the attention. I also grew up, I think a lot of empaths and sensitives grow up in households where there's a lot of codependency. I'd say there's a lot of common rooted patterns in empaths and sensitive now looking back. That you can see that there's a lot of, sometimes, like I grew up in a household where there's a lot of fighting, a lot of alcoholism and drugs going on. And so I wasn't always wanting to speak my truth. I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to have, I was kind of walking on eggshells to keep the peace. And I think that can be another thing, that empaths can be afraid of confrontation. And so sometimes there's things from our past too that could have amplified those fears that are really meant to be our greatest gift. When we can start to transform these fears, we'll notice that that's actually probably part of our purpose work, right? Part of what we're here to actually share with the world in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think quite often we forget to look back on our past, our childhood, our teenage years, because they do give us the biggest indication of, things that we might need to overcome, or learn from, or give us clues and hints to what we should be doing or could be doing to make the world not just better for ourselves, but for everyone else as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's such a huge indicator for sure. And sometimes you don't realize it. I think, I think sometimes I had my foot on the pedal and the brake, even with growing my business, a lot of that too. I think part of it was the energy overwhelm as a sensitive as well. Just thinking, well, I do want to have more clients, but I feel overwhelmed or I don't want to take on more energy. And so part of it for me was also learning about my energy and how to have some energy boundaries. But I feel like there's a tie between energy boundaries and then real world boundaries with people, speaking our truth, not overgiving. Like these kinds of patterns, I think, are connected in a lot of ways and tend to be something that a lot of us have to work through. I think my spiritual business, building that, has been my biggest spiritual growth that I've ever had, honestly. Your first one's a shocker because you don't know. You go from unconscious to conscious. But then after that, you have to keep, learn the tools. It gets easier in the sense that you have the tools and confidence that you can handle it. But the fears and the things that you dig in deeper oftentimes get deeper, kind of like a bit more vulnerable, out of your comfort zone a bit.
Yeah, totally. And it's kind of like once you've got through one thing, then something else comes along. But each time you move through it, it really sort of like just helps you in that growth. And Amanda says society has gone too far in medicating to ease spirituality. And spirituality is deemed demonic or psychotic sometimes, which again, is if you're empath or sensitive, that is one of your biggest fears, and that could be from past life, issues where women's voices were suppressed, and well, not just women, but people that are spiritual, we're just suppressed, and that can affect you in this current life, as well. So how did you so you kind of like said you went for this reading. So was it an overnight thing, or did it sort of like gradually take time to actually get the confidence and know that you could set the boundaries, and how long did it take?
Well, I think I went pretty hard and heavy the first 5 years. I'm one of those people that once I go in, I go in. Like I feel like my awakening itself was kind of quick. Like I went from asleep to like, wow, my grandparents are talking to me. I can feel them. I can experience my I can delineate between my grandma and my aunt and my grandmother, and now I'm recognizing angels. Like so all of that happened, but kind of it felt like night and day in some ways. But the journey of self-healing, that takes time, right? That was definitely an evolving journey. I think it was about 5 years where I really just dove deep into myself. And initially it was like I woke up and I realized, oh my gosh, I taught my daughter all wrong. She was already 13, and I'm like, I wanted my initial thing. And I've learned more now that everybody's got their own path and souls. I get the larger, like we all have our own soul's journey and path at this point. But at the time, as a mom, I was like, I've got to hurry up and get through this healing stuff so I can help my daughter not have to repeat all these things, because I went on to really unhealthy, codependent, abusive relationships all the way until I was 32. And I'm like, wait a second, I got to shift this for me, but I also want to shift this for her
Yeah.
if I can, as much as I can. And so I went 5 years of like multiple courses at a time. I was working full time, but I dove into a clairvoyant. I took like a year-long clairvoyant program, a hands-on healing, Reiki, learned angel therapy practitioners. Like I think we kind of dive in because first of all, it's interesting and exciting, but it's also like I had this real motivation to kind of right what I just realized, wow, there's so much that I have been doing backwards here. I want to make some changes because I know that I'm a conscious creator and I want my daughter to know that, and I want to be able to live life more abundantly and happily. And so I had a real drive, but I think it was 5 years or so of really, in depth. But it was only about 3 years into it where I started realizing I wanted to start helping people. So I think our purpose work and that inner alarm clock starts going off relatively quickly, because my accident was in 2008. 2011, I birthed my first iteration of my work, um, kind of on the side of my other business, right? And so I think, and then I've just been working it ever since. And so I think that we always go to new levels, like you mentioned, we just get easier at navigating it. Things that might have derailed me for years or a lifetime, potentially in other lifetimes, right? Could maybe only be a few weeks, or I could avoid because I could see it coming, you know? And so I think you just, the more tools you learn, the more confidence you have that you don't feel alone. I feel like when I started working with my angels who came in right away for me in my journey, the archangels were like the first spirit guides and like real support that I could recognize outside of my grandparents. Um, I felt so at ease because I knew I didn't have to have it all figured out myself. I just had to trust. I just knew that I was supported, and I had to just trust my intuition and be able to learn to cultivate hearing them and watch and take the one or two steps at a time that I was feeling given, you know, the synchronicities. And so that's when I started really focusing on like, well, what is, you know, what are the synchronicities? What are the signs? Can I move through my fears and keep moving forward just one or two steps? I don't have to have it all figured out. I just need to be open and willing to be guided. And so I think that took a lot of stress and pressure off of feeling like I had to just know all these things all of a sudden, you know. Instead, I just knew that it was a co-creative experience.
Yeah, and I think society has kind of like forced us in that way, really, that we have to be doing everything, all at once. We have to get there. We have to do it. It's got to be done by this time, by this time, by this time. When really life is just evolving. It's a story that just goes along and evolves. If we let it.
Yes, absolutely. And I can relate to what Amanda said personally as well. I think it can be like for me, I think other lifetimes absolutely can have an impact. But also, you know, I was raised in a very religious, conservative upbringing. And so that wasn't okay. And I actually didn't realize how unokay it was until I mentioned talking to angels, you know, and then it's like got this back at me. And with me, like I'm actually really close with my family. My parents have done a lot of their own healing journeys. So they're, you know, we are a very close family. So it's not like you know, we just severed ties. It's no, I do want to keep a close relationship. And so, but we have these two parallels of like what they believe is okay and against God and what is not. And so that really was difficult for me, and one that I think wasn't overnight. And it just started to become a journey of self love and self acceptance, because when I started realizing that I didn't need like their approval or disapproval didn't really have a bearing on my self-worth, when I didn't tie how I felt about myself to what other people's were, even loved ones, I started to dissolve the resistance that I had or the fear that I had. And it became, when I dissolved that elephant in the room for myself of fear of their judgment, or I didn't, it's like I don't think I ever really felt my family would ever fully cut me out. But that inner feeling of being outcasted is a real wound for sensitive.
Yeah.
A lot of us feel this wound of being outcasted, being alone, being misunderstood. Like that's a deep wound. And so, because of that, and I did have that respect and love, it was difficult for me to not push past that until I just knew that, until I dissolved it for myself. Then it's like the elephant in the room kind of left. We'll never have the conversation at the dinner table about my work, right? They have no clue. And that's okay. But at least before, there was a big rub that was uncomfortable, and I felt judged and they felt judged. So there's all this like pushing against each, like a little bit of like defending feeling. I felt the need to defend myself. And so that was keeping things a bit locked up until, you know, slowly but surely I heal myself, and then I can say, okay, it's okay. And then
Yeah.
when I don't judge myself, I don't receive the judgment in the same way either. It doesn't sting.
Yeah, and again, I think that's the thing is when we actually work on ourselves and we kind of like let things go ourselves, it really affects, because our energy changes, the people around us, their energy changes, and we shouldn't all be the same anyway. We all need to have those different opinions because life would be so boring without it. When we can understand each other's thoughts and views, and and accept that you're not going to change them, they're not going to change you, and that you can just all co-create together and be in that energy together. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that we can do, is we start on ourselves first before we
Mhm.
actually think about working on other people. And Amanda says, my eyes have recently been open to the arrogance of colonialism, enmeshed narcissism causing jealousies. This is the underpinning foundation on a global scale.
I think a lot of healing we're doing right now is where we're breaking down the generational patterns of codependency, of which I think does include the more narcissistic or abusive type tendencies as well. But codependency just in even overgiving, or thinking that we have to earn love, or that what we do is creating our value. And I think that's part of the rising of the divine feminine energy as well, right? Really bringing, I believe we really need the divine feminine and divine masculine energy in balance. At the exalted state is really what we're doing on an individual spiritual journey. But there's been so much distortion in that, and so much of a suppression in the divine feminine energy that's coming back. And I think a lot of that being able to rise up is healing the codependency, is healing those kinds of patterns that goes far and wide. And I think that that's where a lot of us that are feeling aligned with being a light worker, or however you identify yourself as somebody who's coming in to be of service in the world to make it a better place, right? If you feel that calling inside, then I think that oftentimes we are purposefully incarnating into family lines that have some of these types of patterns. Some of them might be religious underpinnings, some of them might be addiction, some of them might be, different types of things that we're actually coming in to to transform in that way, so that it doesn't keep moving forward into the future generations. And that's really how it's, to me, very exciting what's going to be happening in the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades down the road, because you can already see such a massive shift, such an acceleration of the shift of people who are waking up. And the younger kids are now getting into adulthood, into positions of the government and the schools and the medical. And that's so exciting, right? I got chills thinking about that.
Yeah, me too.
Really what we're here to do is ushering in these new generations, and so on and so on, right? So there is light at the end of the tunnel there.
Oh yeah, there is there totally is. The next generation, are going to be the spiritual leaders. They are going to be the ones that are going to unite um everybody. And a lot of more parents, I think, have realized that, and they're bringing up their children more, they're thinking more about what they say to their children, you know um not putting them down, and just allowing them to have that freedom of expression, but still have those boundaries that they're going to need to have. So they're not taking on other people's energies and thoughts and ideas, that they can actually be independent thinkers themselves, which I think, and the fact that you've done so, you've got an amazing daughter as well, it's well credit to you.
Thank you. Yes, we are super close. Definitely soul sisters. We've been around together a while. We're the only two who are kind of awakened in my family in the way of the clairvoyance and the intuition and that kind of thing. So it's nice because we do have each other within that, knowing that the rest of our family might not fully get that, but then we can still get it for each other. So it's very nice that we have a special bond. And I love, that's one of my favorite things I love. Well, there's so many favorite things about the work I do, right? That's what's so fun, is you get to see the empowerment that gets to have a ripple effect. But a lot of conscious parenting, which you were speaking to, is such an important part, I think, of it as well. And so seeing, a lot of my students go through and then start teaching their children how to meditate, or how to not, take on things so personally, teaching those wisdom things at such a young age, or even giving them Reiki, or having their children ask for Reiki. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. This is a whole new world, not too long in the future here.
Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely amazing, and obviously, because I do future life progression, I've taken people up into the future myself, and it is just so amazing how we get there. So I mean, obviously, a lot of people go, yeah, well, this is all great, okay, but how do I know I've got gifts? How can I use my intuition? Do I have intuition? You know, am I really sensitive because I'm an empath, or am I just sensitive because that's just how I was brought up? So how can people sort of like navigate that?
Yeah, for sure. I believe we all are intuitive, right? I believe, for how I would define intuition, is really the communication between your conscious communication between your human awareness self and your soul. I think most people, and probably in your circle, would say, yes, I believe I have a soul which is eternal. And so then we have our human self, and the communication between that is coming through our intuition, which is our awareness. We all have chakras, which is where these intuitive gifts are housed, and we're all spiritual. by nature first and foremost. And so as soon as we start to awaken to that fact, we can all cultivate our gifts. Now, some of us might be more naturally have been opened in one or two gifts. Like that's common to have one or two gifts be one that's like more predominant. Empath especially can be a big one, which sometimes might be confused as something that is actually something that's wrong with you. You're too sensitive, or as something that's bad because it caused a lot of pain because you just feel so overwhelmed. But it really truly can be your biggest gift. But your empathic, or your feeling of your body, that is actually one of your intuitive gifts. Sight, right? Clairvoyance, but not only with your eyes closed visually, it can be where you see things, but it could be with your eyes open, seeing synchronicities, seeing numbers, seeing angel feathers, seeing signs. Like that's part of your ability to see beyond the veil, even with your eyes open. There's the hearing, right? Clairaudient. Sure, you might hear other people's or your own inner voice, right? Or you might overhear a radio on a song on the radio that's telling you the exact thing that you needed to hear in that moment as a validation. These are all ways in which that you are actually tapping into the unseen world, and that's really what it is. It's translating the unseen to the conscious awareness. And so the same line of communication can be extended to your angels and your guides, the universe directly. So it's really about cultivating your gifts and just realizing, I think, first being open to the fact that, hey, I am a spiritual being. I've got chakras. I'm aware of that. So I actually have that connection, maybe more connected than I realize. And what I have found, because I typically work with highly sensitive and empathic people, even whether they know it or not initially, just like I didn't, right?
Yeah.
Is that we actually are already pretty tapped into our gifts. We're a little overstimulated. So once we learn how to ground our energy, and people kind of look at me funny when I say, what do you mean I'm not grounded? I'm like, most people aren't in their body, especially sensitives. We're kind of up here where it's a lot more comfy, or out of the body completely.
Yeah.
So once we actually ground our energy and clear our energy from all of the chatter and the overwhelm or the numbing that we might do because it's so overwhelming with sensitive people, we often have addiction type things going on at some point. And so it's kind of like when you clear that and you ground and then all of a sudden, guess what? Your intuition is even more accessible just in those two steps. So I think meditation is a huge key. Grounding and being in the presence, a huge key. Because if you're in the future, in your head, thinking in the future about all the things, or anxiety about something that may not even happen, like all of that is taking your awareness away from the here and now. And so is ruminating in the past, being angry, being frustrated, being in shame. Right? But when we bring ourselves right into that center point, which you get through meditation or mindful activities, you can actually then start to hear and kind of pick up on the messages and the intuition that's always there guiding you. But you got to be open to receiving it. And so that's a muscle. It's an intuitive muscle that you build, right? And you can build it by starting to just ask each day. That's what I usually like to do is I start my day, set my intention, do my energy work. But you can start to ask if this is new, like, higher self, God, angels, however you're feeling most connected or comfortable. Give me loud, clear signs today that I can easily understand, and the confidence and courage to act on them. Right? I add that in now a lot because sometimes it's out of my comfort zone. But but it's just about asking, because your intuition works off of open-ended questions. Ask, what is my next step today? What's the best next step? What do I need to know about this? And just pay attention. What thoughts, feelings, ideas, visions start to come to you. And it's usually that we start to doubt that. Right? The knowing's another one that I think a lot of empaths by nature, they get so overwhelmed in their body that they pop up out, and then they trust they're working with their knowing as a very strong one, which doesn't have a backboarded vision or hearing or a feeling, right? It's not so clear. So that one tends to be one that you have to work through trusting yourself. Maybe you've had past where you've had betrayals or people in your life where you made to feel like you couldn't trust yourself, right? So as we heal those things, you start to open up the connection that's already there, but you're able to actually trust it more. So I think it's a combination of healing, activating, and practicing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it is so easy just to be up here all the time and not grounded, because you miss so many things if you're not aware of what's going on. I'm always on the lookout for synchronicities, always, for numbers and anything that like comes through. And Amanda says, heart set plus mindset plus soul set plus health set.
I love it. Yes, and
Yeah.
your body's such a huge piece of that, really is. And I think I've been feeling that, like just messages that have been coming through, like my channel messages and a week, weekly guidance and things that I'll do sometimes. It's like it's been a lot like back to the body. Not that it's ever not about that, but I do feel like there's a heavy emphasis on grounding into your body, really noticing, like, in order to go, you'll stunt your ascension journey. It's like we expand out, but then we kind of can only go so far until we get integrated in, and then we can expand further and then we have to integrate it in. And so there's always periods where, like, the more connected we are with our body, the more present we are. But also, you might start noticing that the more sensitive you might be in a way of, like, maybe you can't tolerate certain things anymore, or perfumes or foods, or, it's not going to be the same for everybody. I don't think there's hard, fast rules, but you'll start to notice that you'll be called into cleaner things a lot of the time, which will then also help to open up your connection to your higher self information through your intuition, basically.
Yeah, and getting out in nature is one of the
Yes.
biggest things that you can do. And I mean the fact that you've swum with dolphins so many times, that must be the most amazing way of actually connecting to the energy and being so present, because obviously if you had to swim with dolphins, you've got to be pretty much there.
Well, yeah, you don't want to be anywhere else. You're just so excited because they're so fun. I mean, oh my gosh, like I could just spend a whole hour talking about that, because I mean, they're just, first of all, they're wise healers. Okay, they're way conscious, awakened. They've done their little sonar healing clicks on me before, and the communication is so clear. But they're also just, in their energy is just so bliss and heart opening and centered in unity and love, and they're just very community oriented, wise, healing beings, and it's so much fun that, yes, you can't help but be present. But they've definitely done some very specific awakening work to, just like the telepathic channels for me opened up a lot swimming with them. The communication between them is very clear, but then it opened up with, my guides in other ways as well, just being in their presence because they are working in such in a way that way. So yeah, nature in general is a great tidbit. It helps you to be present. Nature's always present. Your body's
Yeah.
always present, which is why the breath is also powerful, right? Connecting to your breath, connecting to what can I see, hear, feel, and your nature is all so powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is why we chose to be humans, so we could experience all these things. 'Cause
absolutely.
without that experience, we'd just be floating here, there, and everywhere, and not learning or growing at all.
Yeah, I love that you said that too, because I think a lot of empaths, especially early in their journey, might just feel like, oh, I can't wait to go back and get out of this body. It's like, oh no, but it's we got if when you have the proper tools and support, your sensitivities are your greatest gift. They're no longer an overwhelming burden. Initially, they can be. I can completely empathize with that, but we came here because it's exciting to be able to harness our conscious creative abilities and the divine within each of us to kind of wield and create the life that we desire, experience joy, experience pleasure, experience the food and the taste and the sunsets. It's just a different way of experiencing. So it's actually something that I think learning how to control, having energy boundaries for me was a huge thing, because then I could be out in the world and experience things without the overwhelm, which allows you to kind of enjoy the beauty of life. So just know there's lots of beauty in life to enjoy that you just don't get, yeah, if you don't have a body.
Yeah, exactly. And for anyone watching, if you've got a question that you want to ask Jen about intuition or sensitivity, or being an empath, then please feel free to write in the comments. So I mean, what would you say would if someone, is overwhelmed by everything going about, they are an empath, what would be one of the first things you would suggest that they do to help, um, you know, not counteract it, but to not allow it to actually affect them, to stop them moving forward in their life.
Well, one tool I really like, it's a very simple, and I like the acronym TLC. I talked about it briefly in my story, the TLC body meditation. I think meditation in general is a huge key. And I know a lot of sensitives and empaths, also might identify as ADHD or other things as well, that their
Yeah.
mind is very busy or just very kind of, but that's like I can relate to, because I was, very, very busy in my mind. But we can, okay. And part of, like we mentioned, being present to your body. So the TLC is talk to your body, listen to your body, and commit to your body's needs. And how that could look is if you're feeling overwhelmed, as an example. You can use this for a lot of different ways. Okay, it could be used like if you're feeling procrastination, or if you're feeling anxious, or if you're feeling angry or sad. It could really be for anything. You just want to close your eyes and take a few moments to close your eyes and just breathe into the body. Start to get really present by focusing on that breath, right? We can do it a little bit now. Let's do it. So just ground into your body and exhale. And again, just focus on the rise and fall of your chest. And exhale. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can just get present and then notice, first of all, is there any pain in your body, right? Are you noticing now that you're getting present, oh, there's a crick in my neck or my lower back? You can start by focusing on that. That's your body letting you know there's a little bit of stuck energy there, whether it's yours or somebody else's. Or if you have a feeling, right? If you're feeling apathy or loneliness or anything, any kind of emotion, and just start to ask, where is that in my body? Right? What feeling point, what place? And you can start to put if it's comfortable, you can put your hands there. They're healers, right? If not, you can just put your awareness and start to send love and awareness to that part of your body. And if you're working with something that's kind of a little pain in your body, you can just ask, what does it represent? Or if you're visual, maybe what color is it? And I like to, this is the talk to your body part, right? What is this anger? Or what is this procrastination? Like, whatever it is you're working with, what is that trying to tell me? Or what is this pain in my body trying to tell me? And then you just get quiet. You do your best to be present and listen. That's the L. And just notice what thoughts, feelings, or ideas come to you. Just the act of sending a little love and awareness to that part of your body where that energy is, it's already going to start to heal and release. Then you can start to ask, well, what can I do to bring more alignment, right? If you're feeling anxious, maybe you want to feel peace. What can I do to feel peace? What can I do to feel healthy in my body? What can I do to feel whatever it is you're bringing in? What do you want to embody? And then listen again. And just keep sending that love and awareness. You can take another deep breath in. This is just a real quickie. You can open your eyes and come back to this a little bit slower when you have some time. But then C is commit. You have to commit. And most of the time, it's very simple. Go take a walk outside. Go sit in the sun for 10 minutes. Have a glass of water. Give yourself a little stretch, right? So often at that point, it's just about helping to be present with your body to move the energy, right? And so that's one way that you can start to identify. If you're an empath and you're wondering, another good question to ask about a feeling, is that mine? As soon as you bring awareness to something, is that even mine? If it's not, it'll start to move out. Because a lot of times we are sponging up other people's energy. So I think the first thing is just awareness, right? Being present, starting to quiet down, doing a little inquiry. That's just a simple guided thing that you can do. TLC, I think is quick to remember. Sometimes I would go to the bathroom at work when I'd be overwhelmed with my hair business still. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. And I'd go in the bathroom like, ground, okay, release what's mine, right? I'll never forget the first time I felt, the first time, I'll tell this really quick, and then I think I see a question. I'll have to read that in a second. But I felt the first transference of energy. So for some of you guys that might not realize when this is happening or how often it's happening, is I was shampooing my client's hair and I never get headaches. And all of a sudden she's like, she was shampooing her hair, and I get this piercing, what I imagine to be a migraine. And I don't even get any headaches at all. And so I walk over there, I'm like, what the heck? And I go over there and she goes, wow, you've got magic fingers, because I've had a migraine for 3 days and shampoo and it's gone. And I was like, I just sucked it right up. And this is what was happening. That's why every day I get off of work, I'm like, where's the French fries and the hamburger and the wine? And I was taking everybody's stuff home. I was touching, and you don't have to touch to take people's home, but especially in service industries where you're also touching or nursing or, all these things, you're really close at that point with people. But again, you could walk by somebody in the grocery store and take their pain if you're not aware of it, right? And so that's important practice to recognize, like, is it mine? And can I start to release that? And I really, some kind of breath work or like awareness meditation practice is going to be one of the best things you can do. And then you'll start to reinforce your energy, right? That's a little bit more sometimes after the fact. I do teach tools where it's more like, how do you start to build up the proactively, but like hot salt baths can help you release really nicely. If you don't have a bath, a tub of water with some salt in it can help ground your energy at the end of a day. But meditation, I think, is going to be a huge key, because it's going to bring your awareness to what's even going on. Because the first step is we just want to numb it. Where's the food? Well, we just get distracted or busied or, whatever's going on, to not notice or feel. And so just that act of taking the time to send that love and awareness to your body and ask will be a great healing.
Yeah.
I think I see a question. Yeah.
We do indeed. And T. Talbot says, my 13-year-old daughter recently started seeing spirits and being able to see, hear, and feel them. She's also experienced more darker things, such as shadows and more evil things. What steps do we take to help her with this? We are having a hard time setting boundaries with these spirits. This is all new to us and feeling lost.
I can totally relate to that. My daughter was about 13 when I had my awakening as well. And she was a very sensitive, awake child in a family that she knew was asleep. But once I had my awakening, she's like, told me these things. Oh, I see fairies. And she would be talking to her friend, her invincible friend, which is really spirit guides, right? Now I know this. And she'd set ring of fire with her crayons around her at 3 years old. And I realized she's creating protection. She would sleep with pillows and cover her mirrors. And I didn't realize that she was dealing with a similar thing. She was dealing with a lot of, like, she could see entities at night. And I think a lot of times, there's light and dark in the world. There's spectrums of that, spectrums of light and dark and evil in the real world and in the spiritual world, right? And so I think especially they fight on fear. So one thing I think that's important to empower you and your daughter, I believe, with, or any child, is that you have the body, you have the power. Okay. Outside entities and beings really have no ability to do anything to you except for they're going to poke at your fear. And so once you kind of shift that empowerment to know that I have the body, I have the power, I have the ability to say, go away, with conviction, they will. Right now, what I would suggest and what I love to do with my daughter, and I think with children can work really easily with this, and even still you could do this as an adult, is called Archangel Michael. It's a really powerful archangel. And I think that, you can invite Archangel Michael. If you're not standing with the conviction of sending a being away on your own, you'll build to that with your confidence of knowing that you feel that shift. But you can ask Archangel Michael to come in, and maybe at nighttime, just invite the Archangel Michael into the room and to create that bubble of protection and to help you feel safe, and to send away any of the unwanted beings that are not serving anybody's highest good to the light. And so that could be something you can really do, that I think that is usually a pretty visceral and quick difference for people. That is also very easy to do, even for smaller children that are like 5 years old. Most of the time they're going to say, oh yeah, I talk to my angels. It's like sometimes they'll be telling you that they already do talk to their angels, but they just may not know what they can do. So Archangel Michael, I think, would be like a first thing I would say. If you're very new, know that you have the power, and empower her to know that she has the power. And then the less that you have that fear riddled over you, the less they really have the effect over you. And then call in your Archangel Michael or whatever spirit team you feel guided to clear the energy space. Okay. Sage can be good too. But, I think you want to have something that you can use without an outside tool, so that you know that you can do it anytime, anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Archangel Michael is so, he is so important to so many people. And he is one of the most easiest to call on.
And he's got kind of color, like deep blue or deep purple. I forgot to say. So if you want to tell your daughter or you to imagine dark blue or dark indigo purple around you or around their space, that can help reinforce it. And I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't want to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's quite an important thing. And what you could also do, if this is happening at night, buy her dark blue bed sheets. So that when she's in bed, she's got, she automatically thinks that she's got that protection around her as well. That's another thing that you could that you could do to help her. So yeah, that is one of the biggest steps, is calling the big guns, calling Archangel Michael.
Yeah, exactly. And my daughter, that's what was so interesting. As I look back, she would always have to stuff like blankets and stuffed animals all in the cracks of her bed. She couldn't have cracks to her bed. And she'd put like all these pillows around her whole crown chakra. You know, here she was, this little kid, and she was figuring out her ways to like create her energy boundaries, which is very interesting. So, you know, sometimes it's like whatever works for them, anything can work. She put crayons in a circle, you know, so that's little, but whatever your, you know, daughter could find as a way to just kind of remind her, almost kind of as a mindful thing that, hey, I am safe and protected. It could be even a charm, it could be a crystal, or it could be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Tita Wood says, thank you. Would we just speak out loud to call out Archangel Michael?
You can, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's really intention. So just having the intention, Archangel Michael, please, you know, come and keep, you know, keep my space healthy and clear and full of love, and protect my energy or my child's energy or my home or my vehicle or my workspace. Include it all if you want. You know, you just can ask him in your mind. You could say it out loud. You could write it in a journal. There really is no wrong way to do it. Just having that intention, and they're there as soon, sometimes before you, the intention will happen before you're consciously aware of it, and then I'll notice their energy, you know, so it'll start to become second nature.
Yeah, and I think Teetalpur is also saying that her daughter does that as well. So I'm guessing that's automatically without knowing, you know,
Mhm.
that inner instinct that she's got, that she's doing it. And Teetalpur says, "Thank you both so much. They've actually signed up for your upcoming class,
Oh,
which we
yay.
we'll be talking about in a minute. But before we do that." As the regular viewers to the show know, each week I like to ask my guests whether they would like me to pull an angel oracle card for themselves and those watching, or do a mini guided meditation. But when I happen to know that my guests also read cards and do lots of other things, I kind of like, well, if I'm going to do it, then would they do it too? So Jen, would you like to pull a card for us all?
Yes, that would be so much fun. I feel I've got the Sacred Traveler deck, and that one popped right out. This one is by Denise Lynn. I like this one.
That's the deck I always use.
Oh, is it? That's so funny. I have that one. I have a second one. We'll see if I get the second one out. I was going to do maybe one from each. Okay. Ooh, I love this. Valiant courage. Take action with passion. And so the first card, let me just feel the energy. Yeah, I feel like, so for some of you, this is just a validation of the, you see the certainty? Like I'm just feeling like the energy, because I read like very intuitively a lot of times. I just see this like certainty. It kind of almost reminded me of Archangel Michael's energy a little bit at first too. So Archangel Michael is also very much about helping you eradicate any kind of fear. So it could be fear of the beings and things, but it can also be your own fear about aligning with your purpose, or taking a leap of faith, or having the courage to make that move, or take a different job, or you know, different things. Like just have the courage. So what I'm seeing is take action with passion. I feel like he's calling you into whatever your next step is. And I feel like you probably know a little bit about what that is. And this is about having the confidence and trust to just do it. And know that your passion is your signpost, especially if you feel like you're a person that does have a little bit of like you feel called to make a change of some way. Follow your passion as your signpost. And so allow that to drive your curiosity, and to just take one or steps two at a time in the direction of what that is. I love this. The next card, and this was out of another Denise Lynn book, or one,
Yeah.
The Gateway. And it says planting seeds. It says seeds of grace are being planted in the fertile soil of my soul. And so this is just basically like, I feel like yeah, there is ideas that you all have individually, right? I always read collectively. So take it as it resonates for your situation. But this feels like you've got seeds. Maybe you've been working on something. Maybe you have an idea for something. And it could be personally, it could be for, you know, your purpose work if you feel called to that. And just know that right now you're planting seeds. I'm also seeing a bird in this particular one, which always reminds me of spirit. So I feel like calling in your angels and guides, and knowing that they're actually whispering in your ears. They're actually guiding you and supporting you. And so you can trust those little niggles that you get, little ideas of inspiration, that feels like your spirit guides actually working with you and encouraging you forward. And so valiantly have the courage to go forward and take that action. I think we'll do one more.
I know.
Ooh, I love it. This is just a beautiful reading. Can't make it up, right? Embracing the future. And that's what it says. It says, I step forward into the future with an open heart. And so this is basically just reminding you that you get to create whatever you want. You see that open doorway there? The world is you get to create what you want. And so trust the process, embrace the future, and take that action forward. Know that you're planting the seeds now. And sometimes that might take a little time to grow out into the fruition to where you can see that, just following that passion and trust it. And again, this says open your heart, and the first one said with passion. So just tune into, what is it my soul's calling me to do today? And I think that could be a good next step. What message does my soul have for me today? And start playing with that question each morning, right? What would bring me joy? Whatever it is you want to work towards, and just start to notice what thoughts, ideas, or visions come. And remember, take the action. Right? You actually have to put it into motion, because sometimes we'll get these note ideas and messages, but then we procrastinate, right? And sometimes it could be something creative. Like if you don't know, if you are one that maybe isn't really clear right at the moment, doing something creative with your hands, like painting or drawing or journaling or gardening, that can actually start to be connecting to your creative channels. Our throat chakra is connecting to our arms, to our creative channels, our hands manifesting. And so it's like that will start to get the energy moving. It'll also bring you very present, and then you'll open up to those intuitive guidances that want to pop through. So that's what I got for you guys today.
Excellent. And whilst you were talking, I obviously did a card, and one decided it was going to jump out,
Yes.
which ties in very nicely. No surprise there. And again, it's from the Sacred Traveler, and it's empaths. Reflect and redirect your energy.
Love it.
Which ties in so beautifully with what you've been with what you've been talking about, and it is, for us to reflect on how far we've actually come now, and redirect that energy to where can we go next. What experiences, what are we curious about? What is over that wall? There's something waiting for you over that wall. So climb that tree to go over that wall. You're not blocked. Just keep moving forward. Um, you know, and again, this also goes to show you, if you're watching this, about your intuition, and that cards are an absolutely brilliant way of actually honing your intuition skills, and you saw Jen's cards, my cards, and they just all work together and they mesh together, which is what you start looking for when you start working with it. So that's another tip, for increasing your intuition, is using cards. One of the most basic tools.
That was my first thing too. I think that was one of the first things I did was oracle cards, right? Definitely love that.
Yeah, definitely. So, Jen, do you have any insights or thoughts or last words of wisdom to leave our viewers?
I just want you to know that your dreams are within reach, right? Each one of you, very capable, very capable, and you are powerful. You are a powerful divine creator. You have the ability to create whatever it is you desire, and you deserve it. And just know that you don't have to go it alone. I think getting in community with like-minded people and groups like this, right? Having these kinds of conversations, because so many people go home and don't have those conversations. So it's great to stay in community here, remembering that you have your spirit team guiding you as well. And just remember that you get to have it all. You can create whatever it is you desire, one or two steps at a time, and you'll be amazed at how much your life can change in such a short period of time.
Yeah, beautiful words of wisdom for us all to take away. So I hope everyone that you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I definitely have. So if people want to connect with you, Jen, how do they do that? And do you have anything coming up at the moment? Any free gifts or offers to share? Obviously, T. Talbot mentioned about a course you were doing. So if you want to share.
I would love to. Yes. So I have Soul Success Unleashed is my name of my business. So I have soulsuccessunleashed.com. But I am leading a 4-day free activation series. Now, whenever you hear this podcast, you can get it year round. But the exciting thing is I am doing one live next week. So you'll be able to join me for a very powerful activation series. Day one, we talk about, and they're all about 75 minutes or so. They include teaching, an activation journey, and then some next steps that you can take. Day one, we talk about communicating with your angels, your guides, your intuition, pretty in depth. Day 2, we activate your healing energy and give you a healing exercise, which is a wonderful tool for empaths and sensitives to clear their own energy and to heal themselves, as well as how to not be overwhelmed as a sensitive. So we talk a bit about the energetic boundaries we spoke of today to not take on other energy. On day 3, we do clairvoyant activation, which is a big one. There's so much more to the clairvoyance besides visions, though. It's about seeing and knowing your truth. And then day 4, we do channeling and light language transmission, which is always super heart opening, really opening and being aware of your own channeling abilities as well. And then there's also a lot of amazing bonuses there as well. And yeah, the other thing I've got going on would be I've started leading spiritual retreats. So if you're a person who's like excited to go to some sacred sites, I do have one, Mount Shasta, coming up, and I have others that are being planned. So you'll want to check out my website for more details there, or feel free to reach out and just ask me.
Yeah, beautiful. And Enid says, thank you. Just came across this feed. I was led here. Again, synchronicities, intuition that comes along. And Amanda says, one intuitive and blessed conversation confirmed through the oracle. Absolutely. And definitely sign up to Jen's free 4-day workshop. I've done many of Jen's workshops in the past, and they are so amazing. And each time you really get that energy, and there's such a nice community feel um, around this. So I'd highly recommend you signing up to do those. Yeah, and T Talbot says, can't wait for those classes. Thank you both for today. Very excited to wake up. Yeah.
Yay, I'm excited.
Yeah. Although we're already awake, it's just remembering and bringing those the gifts and skills in. So thank you so much, Jen, for being on the show and sharing your wisdom. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. And of course, if you are now ready for more clarity and transformation, then I'd love to invite you to a free 20-minute live Soul Path Discovery one-to-one video call, where during our time together, I'll pull a couple of angel oracle cards to help you gain clarity and uncover guidance from your higher self or the angels. This is your chance to reflect, connect, and gain insights into your path forward, and I would be truly honoured to chat with you one-to-one, guide you and help you take the next step towards living the life that you were always meant to live. And of course, I do have a couple of incredible free gifts for you, designed to help you connect more deeply with your guides and explore your future. So do check out the link in the comments after the show to grab yours. And I will put links to Jen's website and to the 4-day workshop and everything else that she's got in the comments after the show. So do circle back to check those out. And thank you again, everyone, so much for watching. And I'd love to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny, just like you. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe and hit that bell button to be notified of when the show goes live, or I post new guided meditations or my other shows go out. Because every time that you like, share, comment, not just my stuff, but Jen's stuff and all my guest stuff, you really help us, get those messages out. Then you become part of that network of building this community of information that can really help and inspire and empower people on their journey. And it's lovely when you are part of that. And of course, I look forward to you all joining me, same time, same place next week. Take care now. Bye.